did everything right and they indicted me.
Arguably the greatest work of nonfiction of the 20th century.
What?
Don't be creepy.
It's a bold strategy, Cotton. Let's see if it pays off for him.
Oh, level good. Interest. It's just crazy enough to work. Yeah.
Not gonna do it. Wouldn't be prudent at this juncture.
Don't even play.
Cacao.
What now? What now? What now?
Cacao.
Well, we see each other again. Glad everybody's still alive. Sometimes I wonder. Just kidding. Sure, everyone's fine. Wait a second. Nope. Got a bunch of stuff here that says no, not everyone's fine. But this is what we have to deal with in the world. Well, alright, chat. Guess we better get to it. Buckle up those seatbelts. Got a little bit of a journey to take. Well, today we're going to start in the United States again. However, instead of gun violence, I thought we might discuss policing. This first one I've got for us to look at here, it's from PBS NewsHour. Hot off the presses from 4 hours ago. Let's hear how they think policing has changed in the last 4 years after the murder of George Floyd.
This past Saturday marked 4 years since the murder of George Floyd at the hands of police in Minneapolis. Floyd's killing sparked a global uprising and sweeping promises of racial justice and police reform. But 4 years later, there's been some backlash to the changes that were set into motion, and in some cases, public attitudes have shifted. To help assess where things stand now with police reforms, we're joined by Philip Atiba Solomon.
Some attitudes have shifted. We gotta roll the dice. We got a 1. It's gonna give us a bacula off the bat. By the way, if you haven't already, if you were here for the vote last night, don't forget to vote on the Discord, because I have set up the official voting system, which just requires you to react to your choice on the head-to-head matchups between our support characters. If you're for some reason not in our Discord, here is a little link for you. We did do the first portion of the first round of voting last night on stream during the super secret late night after hours Galactic chill stream portion of our usual stream scheduling, and if you missed that, that's okay. You can still get your vote in the Discord.
The Center for Policing Equity and is chair of African American Studies and a professor of psychology at Yale University. Thanks so much for being with us.
Thanks, Jeff.
We know at the federal level the George Floyd Justice and Policing Act has stalled, but at the state and local levels, how much would you say policing has actually changed since May of 2020?
So when we talk about policing, we can talk about that at multiple different levels. When we talk about it, we could say the culture of policing itself. We can talk about attitudes around policing, but I assume what you mean are the policies that regulate policing. Mm-hmm. And there I can say it's kind of a mixed bag. Yeah. Right. So we've had some places that looked to literally abolish their entire police department and replace it with departments of public safety, and some places that were making more incremental change. Some of the incremental change, like bans on chokeholds, new pursuit policies, those have moved forward, and some of the attempts to reduce police budgets have maintained as well. But I have to say, post the murder spike in 2021 and 2022, we found ourselves unable to maintain that broad spread momentum. What we can say, the good news around this is in multiple municipalities, there are example projects, things that move forward that people are looking at and saying, well, this could be the way that we make good on the moral impact.
Yeah, so, I mean, are there some examples of good stuff happening in some places? Yeah, you have to really look hard for it. I'd point that out. Also, we've had absolute... I don't want to call it a trove. I think that's positive in connotation. An absolute avalanche of evidence to the contrary in terms of the way the police have dealt with protesters at university and college campuses. We know about what's happening with Cop City. I mean, it's really, as he said, a mixed bag, and I think we have to maintain focus on that mix.
That came post George Floyd and the political realities that came in the backlash of that. Places like Denver, that's had the STAR program that has replaced law enforcement with mental health response in certain crises. Places like Austin and whole states like Washington State and Connecticut that are set to eliminate low-level traffic enforcement by police. So it's a mixed bag. There's some really exciting stuff happening right now, and there's definitely been some backsliding. I don't think that we're done with the analysis of the full consequences of that moment.
Well, given your point, the degree to which the politics have changed, we've seen conservative states, even some progressive areas, pass these new tough-on-crime laws. At this point, are there key structural reforms to policing that are both practical and scalable that you think would be effective?
Yeah, and I just want to reset here because we're talking about the term reform, and reform has a particular meaning in this context. Reform means making the systems we've got better. And there are absolutely some things that we can do that can produce reforms that are laudable and can help ensure public safety, particularly in vulnerable Black and brown communities. But there's another thing we got to be working on, which is entirely building up new systems and replacing the ones that we've got. Both and are necessary. So, for instance, I talked about Washington State and Connecticut looking to ban all low-level traffic enforcement by police. This is because there's no evidence that doing that makes anything any safer. Crashes aren't reduced by it.
Right.
Communities don't feel any safer. And by the way, law enforcement doesn't want to be doing it. That is a kind of reform, right? It's a change in policy, making the systems we've got better that folks can get behind and hopefully can both improve public safety and the efficiency of collecting whatever enforcement fees we might need, and it gets law enforcement out of the places they don't need to be. But we're not going to stop the cycle of seeing the ugliness we saw in the aftermath of the lynching of George Floyd unless we invest upstream so that communities aren't in crisis in the first place. If communities are in crisis, the things that we send in response are never going to be sufficient. And I'm glad to hear that we've got cities like Evanston, Illinois, cities like Ithaca, New York, and Berkeley, California, that are working to increase their spending on the social safety net so that folks don't have to call out for emergency medical, fire, or law enforcement.
Now, would I like everywhere to be like Ithaca and Berkeley, California? Yeah, sure. It's just the fact is that I think it's gonna still be a really long uphill battle to get what he's saying enacted. I want it to be done with all of my heart. Like, we need to replace the police in so many places where they're being used for what we don't need them for, right? You know, like solving murders, you know, but we do need to actually have these conversations, and I don't feel like we're really having them enough, right? Like, we're talking about it, and then we stop talking about it, it feels like, and I want us to go back to talking about what we can replace that police are doing, such as mental health calls, such as traffic violations and things like that, right? Stuff that's leading to terrible interactions with you know, minority communities, right? And it's fucked. So anyway, I just figured we would watch part of this to get us started. as we always talk about gun violence, well, you also got to deal with police because they have a lot of guns, as it turns out. Oh, God. All right. Oh, thank you for the blessings. I appreciate your kind words. I'm still alive, even after that sneeze. You know, I'm pretty sure that that tradition of blessing people after sneezing came from the plague. I could be wrong, but I remember hearing it a long time ago, which I found interesting. Okay, what is next? You know, we don't have very much strictly US stuff today. I just decided to kind of skip over most of it, and it's also Memorial Day, so most of these people are taking the day off. Since it's Memorial Day, I'm just gonna play this and say hello to everybody who's here right now. This is just a Memorial Day
scene
parade.
along Jones Beach. Crowds were sparse on the boardwalk at the popular Long Island Beach as the winds picked up and the dense fog filled the skies. A few people decided to venture out on the sand.
Anyway, hope everybody's having a good Memorial Day so far if you're in the United States. Nadia, Moa Noep, Vincent Morales, Schmegley, Atticus, Among Us, Soul Life. I see a Soul Life in there. And who else do I see? That's it. That's it. Good to see all of you.
It's kind of nice to bike that way. It's hard when there's a lot of people.
Anyway, yay, everybody is celebrating military victory, but really,
for so many today,
just another day to say America too many times. Okay. No, anybody who's not in America, I hope you're having a great normal day. Just obviously you wouldn't, I mean, unless you want to celebrate Memorial Day. I mean, I don't even want to celebrate Memorial Day, and I live in America. So, you know, it's up to you. But I do want everyone to have a good day, not just Americans. I hope that's clear. Because when people sneeze, they usually died soon after from the plague. Is that so? That is real. I didn't make that up myself. Good. It gives me some amount of satisfaction, I think. I see a wild bee cat in chat. Okay, let's go on to this. Where in Chinatown, Seattle, homeless shelter residents are being asked to downsize in the preparation for change in facility.
Of a homeless shelter in Seattle's Chinatown International District are being asked to downsize as the facility prepares to move.
King 5 Sebastian Robertson explains some of the unanswered questions those who rely on the services are asking.
The shelter is considered a low barrier facility, meaning there are less restrictions for those who choose to stay there. Those we talk to say it's been helpful in keeping people off the streets. In the middle of a neighborhood that locals will tell you is fraught with challenges, this facility successfully housed homeless people.
It's a little scary, not knowing exactly what next, you know, because this area has, as you can tell, it has a lot of crime and stuff in this area as it is.
Dana Hupp, a resident of the Navigation Center in the Chinatown International District, says she received this notice asking her to reduce her number of personal items as the facility will begin the downsizing process next month.
We all just got notifications saying that we're having to get ready to start moving by the 17th.
Staff on site confirmed that the Navigation Center will close, but say they've not been given a date. The facility is a low barrier shelter, meaning minimal rules that include no drug testing or curfews. It was opened in 2017 and it's managed by the Downtown Emergency Service Center. It serves people that without the facility would most likely be homeless.
Yeah, and this is one of those places that fills all the gaps, right? This is hugely problematic, I'm going to point out. I mean, Seattle has dealt with homeless issues for a long time. The unhoused, not everybody wants to stay in a church or church-run facility or whatever. Some of the other options are that are pretty tight with restrictions and rules that many unhoused people would prefer not to have to follow, just to have a place to live, and in some cases will wind up just being on the street rather than going to one of those places. At least that's my understanding. I mean, it sounds like a ridiculous choice to have to fucking make, but without places like this that are more accepting of people, it does create a void that is not, doesn't need to be there. That's what I'm saying. We don't need that void. Let's fill it. Okay, moving on. We're gonna get right into talking about climate change today, because we got a bunch of stuff to talk about with it. Okay, first let's start in the north in Canada to talk about this issue, which I was completely unaware of until this video popped up in my feed. This is from 9 hours ago from CBC. Why this year-old wildfire never stopped burning.
What if I told you that this fire here, burning right now, wasn't caused by lightning or a campfire or even a cigarette butt? No, this fire started last summer, and it's spent almost all of this time simmering underground ever since. Right now in Canada, there's a record number of these types of fires that went into hibernation all winter and are coming back now with a vengeance. They call it so hot right now.
So, this is insane, and I had no idea that this is the case, or that could even happen. I was completely floored when I heard this. But this fire has been burning throughout the entire winter beneath snow and ice. It's like in northern, Alberta, right? I mean, it's pretty much as north as you can go and still manage to have civilization, I feel like. And yet somehow, with all of that, no no problem from that fire. Let's look into this some more.
Zombie fires because of how they seem to come back from the dead. But how's this possible? How can a fire survive for many months under layers of wet snow and then just kind of spring back to life? And why are we seeing so many of them now? Let's go through it. Last summer, a group of massive wildfires erupted here in the Rocky Mountains, not far from the town of Fort.
Like, am I the only person here that assumes that you get snow, you get rain, no fire, right? At least eventually. But am I just stupid? I'm just a big dummy.
Nelson. But as winter rolled around and the wildfire season fizzled out, those fires never actually died. They just moved underground. Let me explain it this way. If you think of a campfire that naturally dies down after a few hours, the flame might disappear, but the embers, they're still smoldering, right? And for the next few hours, that campfire is just kind of waiting for you to add another log or fan it extra hard so it can relight. That's essentially what's happening here too, except below the surface.
Underground coal deposits is an interesting idea. Turns out that's not actually the cause.
It's very
interesting thought, though.
And if it's hot enough and dry enough, and last summer was the hottest on record, they can burn deep.
If you have water up close to the surface of the soils, it's really hard for fire to burn very deeply. When you have a lot of dry soil at the surface, then those fires can really kind of dig in.
And that depth is a big part of how these fires are able to survive so long, because when a fire is that deep underground, the soil can actually start to insulate it and protect it from things like snow and ice.
That firefighters are having to work harder than ever to really dig deep into those hot spots, which are burning up to 4 feet deep in some places. We've had reports of
4 feet
into the soil.
deep. Come on.
Now, you might be thinking back to science class right now and wondering, doesn't a fire need oxygen and some sort of fuel source to keep burning? Like, it's pretty obvious how this version of the fire is surviving. Today, it's got plenty of fresh air and high wind for oxygen and a virtually endless supply of trees as fuel. But just a few weeks ago, when that same fire was underground, where was the fuel and the oxygen coming from? Well, the forest floor might look like it's solid, but it's really not, right? Like, just think about when you water a plant. Those water molecules don't just sit on the surface of the soil. The soil is porous, right? So you have the water kind of creeping down through these tiny spaces. And air can do the same thing. So you have these air pockets underground. Not very big ones, mind you, but you need surprisingly little oxygen to keep something smoldering. And it turns out there's just enough oxygen to keep those wildfire embers alive.
Okay, so I'm going to wrap the rest of it up for you guys because I already watched it. But basically, the soil in northern Canada, and in Canada in general, essentially, is the main problem, okay? As it differs from much of the sort of soil you see in forests around the rest of the world, right? Aside from those air pockets existing inside the soil, the fact is because of the way that Canada's forests are, because of the existence of so many pine trees, it being so far north, and all of that, the soil is full of dead, like tree parts, right? Bark, whatever else, along in the soil, not just leaves, but all of this is kind of, and it doesn't, because it gets so cold, so early in comparison to other places, they don't decompose, leaving essentially very burnable stuff just in the soil. Meaning that because of our changing climate and the lack of snowpack that is happening yearly, right, as it's decreasing, the amount of water that's getting down deep is at this point actually not getting deep anymore. It was supposed to, and it would have put out a lot of these fires, but instead much of the snowpack during the melt in the spring is getting sucked up by the top level of the soil, and in some cases, like they were saying, like the fire's like 4 feet fucking deep, and so it's still going, and then you just have a dry season for a short period of time, and all of a sudden the forest is on fire again. It's wild. I would never imagined it. Okay, let's go on. Because we've been talking about these storms, we said that this last week in May was going to be absolutely disastrous for the Midwest and parts of the South. And it has been. In the last 16 hours, it seems as though maybe as many as 20 people have died from the storms, the tornadoes that have been going through the South and the Midwest. Let's start with this one here, according to Associated Press from 16 hours ago. According to them, storms kill at least 18 across Texas, Oklahoma, and Arkansas.
We know at least 7 have lost their lives. Another, at least about 100 people have been injured. It's hard to tell with certainty right now on that number, but based upon those that have already reported, as well as information from local officials, we estimate there being close to 100 people who were injured.
Oh my God.
More than 200 homes.
What the fuck? Was that a marina? What am I looking at? Oh my God. Just a pile of wood in the water now.
Who were injured.
Well, there's definitely boats in there too. Now I'm just noticing it. There's actually boats in that pile of wood. Huh.
More than 200 homes and structures were listed as destroyed. Another more than 120 were listed as damaged. I'll be shocked if those numbers are not increased as further assessments are made.
We felt it hit the house and just felt it started sucking air up through the walls and the windows. I heard the roof go. I started worrying about my brother because, of course, his house was out here in the middle of it all.
Yeah, I don't think a man is supposed to be taller than a house. Now, I don't know how tall that man is, but seems to be normal height. Okay, we got more to look at with these storms. Good God. Well, we said it and it happened. I'm not Nostradamus. I've just been paying attention to the weather reports. Let's look at this, where according to this report, 4 hours later, at least 19 people are dead, including 4 children. No height shame. I said he's normal height.
There are tens of millions of people in the United States who are under an extreme weather threat this morning after a weekend of deadly storms. Officials say 4 children are among 19 dead across Texas, Oklahoma, Arkansas, and Kentucky. Hundreds of others are hurt. At least 14 tornadoes were reported Sunday alone. So it is a big concern this morning. And Steve Futterman is live with us from Los Angeles on the story. Wide swath of destruction. I mean, these pictures are incredible, Steve, through the U.S. Midwest. What's the latest you're hearing in terms of just the extent of the devastation?
Well, there's massive destruction in these 4 states that you mentioned, Texas, Oklahoma, Arkansas, and Kentucky. You know, this is a holiday weekend here in the U.S., but it's not been a holiday for many people in those 4 states.
No
You
kidding.
mentioned the death toll. It's not just been destruction, it's been death as well. People telling these remarkable stories of how they survived, going into their laundry room, going into their bathroom, finding places that might be secure. This is one man in Texas telling how he survived when the tornado went through his town.
The owner came around honking his horn, warning everybody to get out. I don't know why I heeded that warning, but glad I did. I grabbed my dog, we headed for there, and it just, it was just unbelievable, the sound of all the destruction going on around us.
It's terrible. It's amazing the destruction and the loss that has been experienced in this.
Okay, now, of course, as most of our viewers are probably aware of, Texas has been getting slammed repeatedly by these sorts of storms, and it is just getting worse and worse. Like we said, May 31st is supposedly going to be the peak of all of this, and should start subsiding, at least tornado activity. That will be replaced immediately by hurricane season. Now, I think this honestly adds to the death toll. This next video, as the only states that were mentioned in the previous 2 videos were Texas, Oklahoma, and Arkansas. Now, this is from the AP from 9 hours ago, where the Kentucky governor is confirming that at least 4 people have died in Kentucky due to the same storm.
Sadly, we can confirm that we have lost at least 4 Kentuckians from last night's storm. That means we know that there are at least 4 families this morning that have suffered the loss of a loved one less than 24 hours ago that are hurting. Again, so far we believe at least a few tornadoes touched down, including the one that we know was on the ground at least 40 miles. That tornado just barely missed the prison in Eddyville. Currently, over 174,586 customers are without power. You can see that live here in the EOC, but crews are...
So yeah, I mean, there's Kentuckians without power. There's tons of people right now in the Midwest and the South that got hit by the storm that are also without power. But I think first, you know, is to make sure everybody who needs help gets help first in terms of, you know, medical treatment, whatever else. As I mean, I just think that probably takes some kind of, although, you know, electricity, some people need it to survive, so who am I to pick and choose? Alright, let's move on and just kind of talk about this to start us to move into a different part of this before we go across the pond or anything else like that. Let's look at this from 2 hours ago from PBS NewsHour. Amid a wave of deadly tornadoes, experts also expect an active hurricane season, which I think I just said starts June 1st, so we got 5
Here in the
days.
U.S., emergency responders and crews are continuing to search through the wreckage from a wave of tornadoes that hit the South. At least 22 people were killed in this weekend's storms, including 4 children. Hundreds of thousands lost power, and the storms cut brutal paths of destruction through many towns.
Cover your head. Cover your head.
Terrifying scenes during a weekend of tumultuous storms, and officials are warning of more dangerous weather to come. Over the holiday weekend, tornadoes tore through 4 states in the South. In Valley View, Texas, winds reached 135 miles per hour, killing at least 7 people and injuring about 100 others. More than 200 buildings were damaged, including this gas station where people were sheltering.
It was scary. The most horrific thing I've ever gone through. I've
just signed a disaster declaration.
Nearly a third of all Texas counties are in a state of emergency. Texas Governor Greg Abbott spoke shortly after seeing the devastation for himself in Valley View.
Candidly, it's been a harrowing week, with lives lost, property reduced to rubble. The hopes and dreams of Texas families
We already
and small businesses
listened to
have literally been
Greg here. We don't need to hear him talk more than we need to.
Oklahoma, the strong winds uprooted trees and toppled power lines. Earlier today, rescue efforts continued as Arkansas Governor Sarah Huckabee Sanders toured ravaged areas.
Thank you.
Heavy
good.
rain lashed northwest
We have
Arkansas throughout
Aunt Lydia
the night.
to help us.
Trees down by the storm damaged cars and blocked access into neighborhoods. In Kentucky, Governor Andy Beshear declared a state of emergency earlier today. This morning, more than 187,000 Kentuckians were still without power.
Right now, we're working to get different generators from our sources that we have here in the state and around it. Right now, we're providing assistance from the state level to our counties.
This weekend's turbulent weather came after a week of severe storms across the nation. Last Tuesday, a tornado killed 5 people and injured dozens in Iowa. Forecasters warned residents from Alabama to New York to stay on high alert as the storm moves east. May and June tend to be the most active months for tornadoes in the U.S., but some experts say this tornado season is looking like the most active since 2017. To get a better understanding of what's happening now and the concerns as hurricane season approaches, we're joined by Jeff Baradelli, chief meteorologist for WFLA-TV. And
Okay, hold on. Before we get further, I just want to remind everybody that if you're not already in, because I know people show up at different times, so I'm trying to be better about this. Wait, why did I just type that? I meant to type this. Go to this. I mean, you can also go to my Patreon, but do this. Go to my Discord. Just in case you want to get involved in the support character vote or any of our other off-stream antics, join there. We did have the first round of the first vote. There's going to be multiple rounds, but just want to make sure everybody gets in there who isn't in there yet. All right, back to talking about this, which is so fun.
people from China. They love me.
Oops, that's the wrong one.
Florida. Jeff, thanks so much for being with us. So put this into context for us. How intense is this season compared to seasons past?
We've seen a lot of tornadoes, a lot of severe weather, especially during the month of May. In fact, it's the second most active we've seen since 2010. We've seen a lot of tornadoes, somewhere close to about 1,000 tornadoes across the United States. And given what we've seen the past couple of decades or so, it certainly is a very active year. And part of the reason is this really huge heat dome in Central America, which really hasn't moved. It's been very stubborn. And so it's set up a front across Tornado Alley. It's kind of just stuck there. And as long as that front's stuck there, we have the jet stream and disturbances riding along that front. over an area very prone for severe weather, because that's where the cold air in the Pacific Northwest, where it's actually been pretty cold, and the very hot air down in the Gulf meet. They collide there, and so it's been excessively severe in that area.
Yep. And this hurricane season's not looking good. The fact is warm water is the main contributor to hurricanes' strength. And we have a fucking abundance of that. We've been talking about how the oceans are hotter than they've ever been. Keep hitting record temperatures year after year, and we're currently in a place that not good, especially when we're talking about hurricanes, among other downstream effects of warmer oceans, death of coral, and other sorts of things. Okay, focusing. Okay, let's look at this. This is from 2 hours ago. Speaking of things that are hot.
So hot right now.
This is from NBC Bay Area 2 hours ago. Summer is getting hotter across the U.S. Study finds.
That's hot. All right, turning now to our climate in crisis. Today is the unofficial start of summer, but June is, of course, right around the corner. And according to a study by Climate Central, the season is getting hotter across the U.S. Meteorologist Vianney Rana is here now. Vianney, tell us what we can expect this summer.
Yeah, you've likely, noticed over the years when we get into these heat stretches how dangerous things can become. But, one thing that we do know for sure is that NOAA's summer 2023, according to, was one of the hottest on record. So that was just about a year ago. And as we know, this can lead to heat-related illnesses, and it's one of the leading, death causes across the U.S. So let's talk about the latest study, which shows that since 1970, summers have warmed in 230 U.S. locations by 2.5 degrees Fahrenheit on average. Now, more frequent extreme heat is not only an indicator of climate change, it is also the leading cause of weather-related deaths across the U.S. and even around the world. Experts warn that as our climate warms, risky heat gets here earlier and then ends up lingering later. So we'll see, warmer stretches sooner than expected, and then that will lead to it lingering a little bit longer. And even
You want an ISO pale moment? It's a good video. That one's funny.
the perfect weather really the past couple of days here across the Bay Area.
Oh, yeah.
It's been fantastic. We do have some warmer weather ahead.
Okay, so talk about...
Yeah, it's hot. It's hot. We know. Thank you. Okay. Just figured we'd watch that, kind of chuckle to ourselves. Wait, is that the same? Wait a second. Is that the ISO Pale girl? Hold on. Oh no, that's not her. Okay. Okay, never mind. From that angle, I was like, oh my god, it could be her. No, it was not. Okay, let's look at this. Wait, I lost my place. Got distracted. Oh. Alright. Let's go further south. What do you say? Where in Brazil, after weeks of flooding, they have now reported their first deaths from waterborne disease. And experts are warning of a coming surge in fatalities relating to this. Unfortunately, the people in greater Rio Grande do Sul are essentially being left to, to some degree, their own resources. I mean, the government is doing what they can. The fact is the whole area is inundated with water still. Much of it has not receded, and it is making things very bad. We've been having quite a few patients with symptoms of possible leptospirosis, a disease we must. Wait, hold on. I got thrown off by leptospirosis. Okay, leptospirosis, a disease we must notify of. Okay. And so as soon as we suspect that the patient may have leptospirosis, you can make me say it again, okay? Due to the symptoms, we notify the health department and start treatment. And then we do the tests, of course, to confirm the diagnosis. Hepatitis A is also very common. There are a number of infectious diseases that we can come into contact through contaminated water. I can't believe it's still this flooded. This is just wild. I mean, the flooding started, what was it now? It must have been over 2 weeks ago. Am I losing my mind? It must have been that long ago.
I feel like I'm taking crazy pills!
Okay. Well, we talked about this quickly, I think maybe a day or two ago. As there, it is already cyclone season in the South Indian and what's the other part of that ocean? Indonesian Ocean? Whatever it is. It is already cyclone season there, and Cyclone Ramal, which has been approaching the Bengali and Bangladeshi coastline, made landfall, leaving several people dead, and the entire place is just inundated with water as well. Sort of I feel like I'm seeing double.
On May 27, 2024, a severe cyclonic storm moved nearly northwards over coastal Bangladesh and adjoining coastal areas of West Bengal. At least 7 people were killed, and millions were left without power because of the devastating winds of up to 120 kilometers per hour and storm surges. Around 8 lakh people have been evacuated by the authorities in Bangladesh. The country is predicted to get more rainfall from the storm as compared to West Bengal.
Hey, good to see you, Good for Gabby. It's been much too long. Where have you been my whole life? You're guessing you can access Discord on 2017. You can access Discord on anything with an internet connection, basically, in a browser. You don't even need the app. I mean, you can use the app, but all you need is the browser. Any browser. You pick.
This is being caused by Cyclone Ramal. Initially, in the early morning hours of May 22, 2024, a low pressure area formed over the southwest and adjoining west central Bay of Bengal. Warm sea surface temperatures provided the necessary heat and moisture for the storm system to grow. Cyclone Ramal has shown unpredictable behavior in its forecasts. On one hand, earlier data from the Global Forecasting System of the United States had shown the storm taking a turn towards Odisha. On the other hand, the European Center for Medium-Range Weather Forecast data had shown it making landfall more towards West Bengal coast. Now, the center of the severe cyclone landed between Khebupara in Patuakhali, Bangladesh and Sagar Island in West Bengal. There are 2 main reasons that can lead to inaccuracies in cyclone forecasts. First, when a cyclone forms near the monsoon season, it brings a lot of atmospheric complexity to India. And second, when the cyclone structure is disorganized. Additionally, because of warming oceans, these storm systems exhibit new characteristics. In 2023, all ocean basins experienced unprecedented levels of warming and marine heat waves. Oceans have broken their average sea surface temperature records for 13 consecutive months. With every degree Celsius...
Okay. I'm going to move us on to this next one. Still about the same thing. But I think we know just how bad the warming is getting. I just do think that this is an example, if you will, of what may be to come in the United States, seeing as cyclones are basically just a different name for hurricanes, and hurricane season is coming so soon. By the way, who else didn't I even say hello to? I know I said hello to Gappy just now. A bunch of people showed up while I was already streaming. Oh, I see AC in here. Donald James X, James Fox too. Okay. Yeah, Vincent Morales, Forbezilla. I don't think I've ever seen a Forbezilla in this chat. Welcome. See a Geo Dragon. Am I missing anybody? Might be. Oh, I see Styx Dragon too. I don't know what random language you're speaking, by the way.
Rise in global atmospheric temperature.
And let's keep the random languages to a minimum, just in case the mods are forced to start Google translating everything. Oh, Shade Dragon. Wow, a lot of dragons have shown up already. Although I feel like we're missing a couple. Alright, let's move on to this one. This is also footage from Cyclone Ramal.
Strong winds and heavy rain pounded the coastal regions of Bangladesh and India as a severe cyclone made landfall. Millions are without power after power poles fell and trees were uprooted by gusty winds. Dozens of Bangladeshi villages were flooded after flood protection embankments either washed away or were damaged by the storm surge. Nearly 800,000 people had been evacuated from vulnerable areas in Bangladesh on Sunday. The India Meteorological Department says the storm is likely to weaken further throughout the day, but warns heavy showers will remain over the next 2 days.
The sides of the river are broken and water entered through the side of the village. Many people are marooned. The loss is immense. The way the tidal surge hit this dam last night, if it hadn't stayed strong for a few more hours, this dam would have disappeared and we would have been marooned. A lot of damage has taken place due to the cyclone. Our 62 substations had been damaged and affected. I'm pretty sure that means they're power substations.
Substation is restored.
Of 49, or just, as far as pole damage is concerned.
Well, 2,300, 500, 2,350 pole damage.
2,350, I think, power poles have been damaged. A lot of people are going to be without power. A lot of people. Alright, what is next on our list here? Oh god, this one. This one, I didn't want to look at that. I don't even want to look at it. Okay, fine, we'll look at it. So, you know how we talked about the landslide that happened in Papua New Guinea? I think we must have looked at it just the other day. However, in the last, 24 hours or so, more has come to light, and the toll that this landslide has taken appears to be in the thousands. Not in the hundreds, as we initially had reported.
Officials in Papua New Guinea now say more than 2,000 people may have been buried by Friday's landslide. Rescuers are digging with their bare hands or simple tools to reach the victims because of the lack of heavy equipment.
Christ.
Tons of debris buried the homes in the middle of the night when most of the villagers were sleeping. CBC's Dominic Velitis is in London and tracking this story for us. He joins us now live. Dom, good to see you. What's the latest?
Well, as you mentioned there, Natasha, one official at the National Disaster Centre in Papua New Guinea is saying that this landslide may well have killed more than 2,000 people. Now, that is much, much higher than the United Nations suggested over the weekend. It said 670 people were killed. It is, of course, Natasha, quite difficult to establish the exact figure. That probably won't be known for quite some time, but certainly we are looking at a huge, huge loss of life. Here's local resident Evit Kambu. Take a listen.
This makes me so like upset. And the fact is like watching those people digging at gigantic boulders to try and find people. I mean, the fact is it's not only dangerous to be doing that, but also, I mean, I don't want to say it's futile or anything like that, but to move some of those things, you need much bigger equipment than shovels. I'm not saying that they shouldn't keep trying, but it just makes it wrenches my heart to watch these people just digging at the ground to try and find thousands of their friends and relatives, and it's just heartbreaking. It really is. Ugh. Do we watch more of this? I just paused it because it's stressing me out. I guess we can. Actually, I have two stories on this. We'll watch this one.
Days after a landslide buried their village, members of this community...
You have 20 likes. Oh, okay, hold on. Hold on. No, you're right. Shoveling is always an option. I'm not saying it isn't, but... 6. Who is 6? Neo. I mean, John Wick. I mean... Ted? Or is it Bill? I always forget. Alright. There it is.
Papua New Guinea's Enga province are despairing.
I have 18 members of my family buried under the debris and soil that I'm standing on, and more family members in the village. I cannot count how many.
The landslide hit the remote mountainous area at around 3 a.m. on Friday, destroying homes and farms. Authorities say it is too soon to say how many people died. Part of the main highway is blocked, delaying the arrival of emergency crews and heavy machinery.
Currently, people have been trying to recover their loved ones from underneath the soil by using digging sticks, spades, large agriculture forks, whatever means that they have.
Volunteers are digging through the rubble using garden tools. Footage from a local media channel shows survivors, confused and exhausted, taking in the extent of the destruction. It's unclear how many people were living here. The last official census was 24 years ago, but it's estimated to be a few thousand. Complicating recovery efforts, water flowing under the debris, causing rocks to shift, and tribal violence in Enga province. International assistance is on its way, with aircraft and equipment coming from Australia.
We have So they need help. Yeah, they do. And it turns out Australia, who is the closest to them, essentially, is going to be sending some help.
Provided assistance in getting officials from their disaster response centre to the place of the incident over the course of the weekend. And we'll continue to work very closely with the Papua New Guinean government.
And the United Nations says its teams are on the ground, helping authorities set up temporary shelters and distribute food and water.
Yeah. And if you're unaware, it is just Papua New Guinea is just a short boat ride away from Australia to the north. Or plane, I guess. It is an island, though, if you're unaware. Okay. Okay, what else do we have to do here? Oh, wow. Oh, right, I didn't really do American news today, so I'm actually through environmental stuff already. Shocking. Wild. an hour in? Do I take a break now, like I always do at this point? Could play chat games. Why is my mouse doing this? Don't do that. Forgot to like. It's okay. It's okay. Alright. Yeah, right. Usually it's like an hour and a half, like at best. And now we're an hour and 7 in, and I'm like, okay, maybe might have to take a break already. I think that's gonna happen. Just for perpetuity, you know, for the continuity of the system that I've established here. Okay. Well, I hope everybody is enjoying the stream so far. If you haven't already, hit that like button and don't forget to subscribe. Really helps me out here. If you'd like to be even more helpful to the Galactic News Network, well, you have one real option. By getting out that wallet and essentially giving me, here at the Galactic News Network, $3 a month, the very minimum, in which you will receive benefits, space ones, unseen by the rest of the goddamn Milky Way galaxy. Stuff like putting GIFs on this scene here, or scene like here, or here. Also, shoutouts and exclusive content, among other things I'm constantly trying to work on. Anyways, enjoy this space intermission. Grab yourself a drink, perhaps a snack, and I'll be right back. Who's that dancing between Rick and Snoop? Well, that happens to be an addition from one of our Galactic patrons. I think, I'm trying to remember now. I can't remember her name. She's I think it's like a Chinese TikToker.
Do you know what we're here for?
Your name, please?
A fucking bitch.
Don't be creepy.
What now? What now?
Climate and everything are the same.
Not gonna do it. Wouldn't be prudent at this juncture.
Jesus ain't say that. Jesus ain't say that.
Okay. What do we have to deal with next? Alright, let's quickly go across the pond. I hope everybody has finished their drinks, got back to their seats. We got stuff to do. Let's take a little trip across the pond to the United Kingdom and look at what's up with their elections that were just called by Rishi Sunak. A rain-soaked address.
It's day 5 of the UK election campaign. Here are 5 things you need to know. Despite how it looks, Prime Minister Rishi Sunak hasn't been training the next generation for national service. Thankfully, that wouldn't be up to him. The Tory party's been attacking Labour leader Sir Keir Starmer's age, calling him Sir Sleepy. But when asked whether his age is an issue, Sunak said,
"And the substance is what matters at this election."
The president of Birmingham Young Conservatives has cited the concerning national service when defecting to the Lib Dems. He said Sunak's leadership has been profoundly disappointing and that he's done. And according to The Times, the Conservative campaign headquarters accidentally sent an email around criticising their own candidates, and they sent it to those candidates. They said that they're not campaigning hard enough, and so one MP accused CCHQ.
Oh, what happened? Why is my sound not working? There it is. Whoopsies. That's not what you want to send your candidates, especially when, I think how many quit? Didn't like 78 Tory MPs all quit at once? Yeah, maybe not the best move.
Rank incompetence. In his first major speech of the election, Starmer called the Prime Minister's national service policy
a sort of teenage dad's army. Paid for, I kid you not, by cancelling levelling up funding.
And he told us it wasn't thought through. He said the Tories are
rummaging around in the sort of toy box of ideas to see if they can come up with anything. And they've flung this one on the table. It's desperate.
Some young people are worried about it, but yesterday Home Secretary James Cleverly said that you won't be thrown in jail if you refuse to do it. And after reports overnight of dozens of people being killed at a refugee camp in Rafah.
Okay, don't get ahead of me here, all right? Channel 4. Thank you. Just want you for your UK perspective. Thank you. So yeah, the UK election is about as, not quite as fucked as the United States election is currently, but it's pretty wild. At least it's not America with geriatric. Oh, look who it is. Pitchfork's Dragon. Interesting. Good to see you. Mexico? You're in Mexico right now? Wait. I think I'm missing some part of this conversation. I'm just going to move on. Oh, it's stuck in the past. I guess I was just pointing out that they have pretty crappy choices right now in terms of who they want to pick between, things like that. Although technically they have more parties than us somehow. I thought we invented democracy. What's happening?
I don't want reality.
Okay. Moving along to Spain, where President Zelensky of Ukraine arrived at Madrid's airport for his first official visit. It's about the Shaka sign. Now, this isn't intended to shame Zelensky in any way, but I was shocked when I saw, like, I guess I haven't been paying enough attention, but I feel like maybe it's just because the Spanish president seems to be quite tall. It just kind of made me notice just how much shorter Zelensky is than most people. Oh, Canada has bad choices? Oh, we're going to have a who has the worst choices Olympics now? Is that what we're going to do? Is that what we're going to do now? Del Sol Verde. Bad Ash. Good to see all you peeps. Okay, what next? Anyways, I just found it interesting that suddenly, after, who was it? I can't remember now. But NATO's top diplomat claimed that NATO needs to help Ukraine, that suddenly Zelensky's in Spain for the first time. Just seemed a little convenient. Okay, let's move on to this from 10 hours ago. Where a 10-year-old boy describes a missile attack that killed his parents in, I think this is in Kharkiv. Yeah, we know. We know, it's graphic.
The fragments of loss and losing so often go unheard, but fast unravel lives all the same. 2 missiles hit this comfortable family home just outside Pokrovsk. Now, only dust and the smell of a decaying family dog. We're close enough to the Russians, we can pick up their radio station.
The West will not give modern equipment to Ukraine, so the ordinary Ukrainian soldiers will be the ones to suck it up.
Like this, it's really hard to work out exactly what Russia must have thought it was hitting with firepower like this. People in the streets say there's no military around at all, but all the same, utter devastation.
People here know 2 parents died, but the survivor knows a greater horror. Mykola is 10 and watched his mother Larissa die as she lay crushed by the rubble.
I heard a whistle through my dream. Then bang. All the windows were shattered. In a second, my eyes were still closed. I felt the windows shattering, and I heard it. Then something fell, My mom was saying, Kolya, Kolya. I shouted, Mom, I'm alive. Took everything off my face, and then I saw my mom crushed by the ceiling. Tried to pull it away, but I couldn't. Okay, we're not going to listen to this whole thing. It's a harrowing story. It goes on for a while, but both of his parents are dead. He was spared, and is now an orphan.
Illegal.
Okay, let's go further east to what is technically part of Asia, really, in Georgia, where the Georgian protests are continuing still. Today is Georgian Independence Day, something I was not aware of, but this headline made me aware of. So they came out on Independence Day and protested the new law that has been put into place by Georgian Parliament.
Unfortunately, at this very important day for our anniversary of our independence, Georgia is not in its best shape. Georgian democracy is seriously dented because of the oligarchic state capture and increased Russian influence. And the primary reason why these people are standing in the streets is to regain our country back and to make Georgia's democratic trajectory intact.
I think that we're so proud of this day because it means so much. It's our Independent Day, and we think our independence is not in danger because of our people and our power. And I think we will never lose our power and independence because Georgia always will be independent country.
Okay. Very diverse crowd in terms of age there. I think I saw kids that must have been 4 or 5 years old out there. Okay, what's next? What is next? Oh, okay, yeah, quickly. Quickly. We're just gonna look at this. This is from 18 hours ago. A little further east to Taiwan, where U.S. lawmakers visited Taiwan in show of support for its new president. Anyways, if I recall correctly, this video is completely, or at least the audio on this video is completely unintelligible, and there's no, like, subtitles, but it is a show of public support from the U.S. government, once again, to Taiwan. Okay, now we got Israel to talk about. By the way, today we're going to try and do another partial round of the stream voting. For those of you that aren't aware, we are doing voting on stream and on the Discord. So your votes count twice if you're here for the stream and you're also in the Discord. Otherwise, you may be stuck to just one vote. In some cases, zero votes if you're not in the Discord and you're missing streams. I mean, oh my god, I wouldn't want to be in that position. But just want to make sure people are aware of that. Okay, we're gonna start talking about Israel here. First, though, I wanted to look at this because this is just fascinating. I'm pretty sure most people here are aware of a individual by the name of Nikki Haley, who was a former American Republican presidential candidate. She did not do well in the debates. And I mean, can we even call them debates when they didn't even have all of their candidates? I mean, whatever it was. The race for vice president, I guess. But yeah, she decided to take a little trip to Israel. That's right. Nikki Haley decided that she needed to go to Israel for whatever reason in her brain. Here's her in Sderot saying that the U.S. must not withhold weapons from Israel, among other insane things.
חבר'ה, צעד אחורה. פליז, בבקשה.
At the first ride to the Sheva. Guys, place where no one is stopping them.
And Donald Trump recently did not allow stopping US aid to Israel.
What America needs to understand is if Israel's fighting our enemies, how can we not help them?
Wait. Okay, so I guess she's just what she's saying is that all Palestinian people are the enemy of the United States. I think that's what she's trying to say. I think I'm being generous, honestly, with that analysis.
Our enemies. How can we not help them? The sure way to not help Israel is to withhold weapons. The sure way to not help Israel is to praise the ICC or the ICJ or any...
Praise the ICC and the ICJ? The United States has been doing no such thing. Who is she even talking about? If anything, all U.S. officials have basically, at least the ones that are the most consequential in this discussion, have been like, what is the ICC? I've never... Who? Never heard of that before.
I don't want reality.
This lady is completely outside of her mind.
Those that are condemning Israel instead of condemning what happens. America.
What the hell does that mean? The first time I heard it, it made no sense. The second time I heard it, it made even less sense. But let's listen to it again, just in case we can somehow glean something from this.
Israel instead of condemning what happens.
Wait, gotta go back a little bit further.
Any of those that are condemning Israel instead of condemning what happens.
What does that mean? Condemning Israel instead of what happens? What is that? What does that statement mean? I'm very confused. What is I feel like everything falls under the parameters of what happens, quote unquote. I am genuinely confused by this statement. I mean, granted, Nikki Haley, she's not the smartest person, but I'd expect her to say at least, you know, actual sentences. But no, not even smart enough to say things that make any sense. She keeps unironically hitting all the good points. Oh God. All right. Now let's look at what some slightly more intelligent leaders of... Actually, she's not a leader. She's not a leader. I just realized. She's not a leader of anything. I don't think... She's not an elected representative anywhere, is she? Hold on, I have to look this up now. God damn it, Nikki Haley. Why do you exist? Nikki Haley. Oh, she is. Was. She was the 116th governor of South Carolina. I see. Okay. All right. What is next? Ah, yes. Smarter leaders. Let's go to this. Where Ireland, Spain, and Norway have condemned Israel's ongoing attacks. Now, if you're unaware, all three of which actually, Ireland, Spain, and Norway, all recently recognized the state of Palestine in a historical move. And are continuing to do seemingly based stuff for EU nation states as it is. Let's see here. Utilize democracy. Oh, you voted in the Discord. Fantastic. I'm glad somebody is utilizing their democratic rights in space established by the Galactic UN, the only democratic body in space. Alright, let's go here to Al Jazeera.
Three European nations, which are set to recognize Palestine as a state on Tuesday, have condemned Israel's ongoing attacks on Rafah. The foreign ministers of Ireland, Norway, and Spain held a joint presser in Brussels where they spoke about the need for a two-state solution to the conflict, while they also accused Israel of breaching international humanitarian law by refusing to stop its deadly strikes on Rafah.
There can be no military solution to this conflict. And I repute absolutely any group using violence or terrorism to try and eliminate the state of Israel or to eliminate the state of Palestine as an idea or as a reality. They will not succeed. And I condemn the violence of yesterday, the rockets that were struck at Tel Aviv and the heinous attack on the Rafah tent refugee camp last evening, where again innocent children and civilians were killed, again in violation of the International Court of Justice and its instructions to Israel to cease the bombardment of Rafah.
Yep.
This stresses what we have been calling the three of us, our three countries, for a long time, that it's an immediate ceasefire. But the gravity is even larger because it comes after a decision taken by the International Court of Justice that, once again, I want to recall, that are binding and compulsory for all parties. They are for Israel, that is calling to stop this attack on Rafah. I think that this time we have to raise our voice not only for an immediate ceasefire, but also to back international law and the United Nations Charter.
Wow. I paused it at the exact right moment. All right. Now, I don't want to get too deep into this because they, well, they're going to discuss a bunch of stuff that we're about to try and discuss. So, let's, first, and I probably should have watched this one later down the line. For whatever reason, I interpreted the headline differently. I first put it into my list. Okay, oh, that's why, because I put it next to this one. This is from 18 hours ago. Norway to recognize Palestinian state 31 years after brokering the Oslo Accords. Where's Lefty to scold Ash?
Keep secret under the cover of this research.
What's this about? Oh, the irony of the Irish representative condemning terrorism. Oh, I'm not going to touch that right now.
Institute in Oslo, the very first negotiations between the Palestine Liberation Organization of Yasser Arafat and Israel took place. Soon after the peace deal was made, Arafat visited the office.
This is here, and in the, I think definitely in this room. So this, when it was a large room, his chair must have been around where my table is.
The Oslo Accords were meant to end Israel's occupation and eventually lead to a Palestinian state. Instead, the occupation became more entrenched. Illegal Israeli settlements multiplied and violence increased.
More people today, I think, would be of the opinion that it might have done harm. So, no, we're not proud.
The historic agreement was signed here in secret at the government guest house after midnight on August 20th, 1993. But as time went on, it became clear that the accord was doomed to fail. 3 decades later, peace is further away than ever before. But still, Norway believes it's possible, and learning from its mistakes has now taken a different approach.
After trying for years to negotiate with its key ally, Israel, to abide by the Oslo Accords, Norway has decided to focus on the Palestinian side instead.
And Oslo 2.0 is an upgrade and one of the adjustments to make this more relevant in 2024 is that the recognition of Palestine happens at an earlier stage than what was originally planned. That does not mean that we have an end of the war in sight right now. But
because Israel is not on board.
Because Israel under this current government is not on board. But Israel is also increasingly isolated right now.
A researcher who has long
The Citadel Council. What is the Citadel Council? I don't even know what that is. That's from Mass Effect? I'm not counting that, I guess. That wasn't in my list of things, but I guess this one of the two. If we're counting fictional, this is real. This is real life. You're a real person. You can take part in this galactic democracy that we have. Can't do that with Mass Effect, can you? No. No, I didn't think so. Okay. Moving on to this. Let's discuss this, actually, which I found fascinating. Because I didn't even hear this up until here, but it's like, oh, this is wild. Okay. Accusations of anti-Semitism against the ICC.
A lot of things has happened on the last days. In particular, the prosecutor of the International Criminal Court sending to the court warrants against Netanyahu and Galán and 3 leaders from Hamas. That's an important decision from the prosecutor, and I want to say that we have to respect the work of the International Criminal Court. We have to respect the work of this institution and let the court, without intimidation, to decide what they think about this.
Wait, what? How old is Yasser Arafat now? Yasser Arafat's dead. I mean, some of the allegations are that Israel poisoned him. Am I losing my mind? Yeah, he died in 2004. Sorry to break the news. But yeah, he died of... Now I have to look into it. Now that we're talking about it, and I'm just like already trying to explain it. I don't want to do it wrong. Oh, god damn it, Wikipedia. Somehow you're worse. Yeah, whatever. It's complicated. But there were and have been accusations that Israel was linked to his death, but it was, I think, technically, they said it was something to do with his just failing health, as he had a number of mystery illnesses in the past or something like that.
Initiative of the prosecutor. Unhappily, it's not the case. The prosecutor and the court has been strongly intimidated and accused of anti-Semitism. As always, that everyone does something that Netanyahu government doesn't like. I think that...
Yeah, totally. I mean, it does seem like Israel has just decided to accuse literally everything and everyone who has ever said anything that is even slightly anti-Israeli policy and Israeli ethnic cleansing is somehow anti-Semitic, and it's even applies to the International Criminal Court.
Accusation of anti-Semitism against the prosecutor of the International Criminal Court is completely not acceptable. The word anti-Semitic, it's too heavy. It's too important in order to use it on these occasions. And still more important is the ruling of the International Court of Justice, which is the core of the international justice, in order to act above the national level. Is at the core of the United Nations Charter. And here, again, we have to express not only respect, but to ask for the implementation of the decision of the court.
Arguably the greatest work of nonfiction of the 20th century.
Okay. Let's move on to this. All right, before we go any further, let's look at this. This is from Al Jazeera English from 11 days ago. I just wanted to kind of, I gotta, actually gotta line part of this up first. But this is a discussion they had, asking the question. I figured it would be good for us to ask this question, even if this is an old story. I'm assuming many people didn't see this. I mean, it only had, well, I guess it had a few views. But, I think it'd be good to consider all of this. And actually, no, I'm just going to let him start this off.
Hi, I'm Steve Clemens, and I have a question. If Israel doesn't want a permanent ceasefire in Gaza, then what does it really want? Let's get to the bottom line. Israel's leaders insist they won't accept a permanent ceasefire in their war on Gaza, and they've intensified their attack on Rafah. That town is the last refuge for more than 1 million Palestinians who've been pushed there as Israel extends its war on Gaza with no end in sight. U.S. President Joe Biden said that Israel's plans to attack Rafah are, quote, just wrong, and he paused the shipment of weapons to Israel. But how real are the tensions between Israel and its biggest sponsor, the United States? And can Israel continue its war on Gaza with impunity well into the future? Today we're talking with Daniel Levy, president of the U.S. Middle East Project and former advisor to the Israeli government. Daniel, thank you so much for talking with us today. Let me just go right to the news. President Biden has put a pause on the shipment of arms and weapons and 2,000-pound bombs to Israel. Do you see this as a serious inflection point in the relationship, or is this just a minor speed bump?
Steve, it all depends on whether he's willing to sustain and expand this. What we have been told thus far is that certain armaments are being revisited and will not be sent for the time being. Steve, I'm sure you and I and many people watching will question, what the hell were they doing still sending 2,000-pound bombs and a heck of a lot of other ordnance to Israel months into? What we quite clearly see is a devastating situation where Israel has not been targeting with precision. We've seen the reports of the Lavender AI program being used. We've seen the highest court in the world, the International Court of Justice, issue provisional measures on a South African initiative regarding violations of the Genocide Convention, called provisional measures to prevent irreparable damage to the Palestinian civilian population. Yet months after that decision, the US was still sending these shipments, and President Biden very possibly acknowledged two things in that CNN interview. First, that there may well have been war crimes committed with these 2,000-pound bombs, and secondly, that an arms embargo is the way forward. Okay, put that aside for a second. The real question is, going forward, will the administration tell us that as Israel begins to go into Rafah. Right now, Israel is saying it's a limited operation. Washington is saying, yes, it's a limited operation. But Netanyahu's in no hurry. And this feels like precisely the beginnings of something the Biden administration has said don't do. As that continues, as we still don't see the entry of the kind of humanitarian assistance that is needed, and as Netanyahu stares down the president and says, we have the weapons, we're continuing, shame on you for challenging us in this way. And as we hear that echo chamber inside the US go after the president, will the president begin to muddy the waters and say, of course, Israel's war goals are something we still back. We don't really see Rafah as being having crossed a tipping point. Of course, Hamas is still to blame for the fact there's no deal, even though Hamas said yes and Israel said no. Will we see that muddying, or will we see the president say to the Israeli prime minister, I'm the superpower here. You are undermining us. These are potential violations that we cannot be part of, and we are not going to send you the weapons because...
Okay. Cool. Very difficult to interrupt Daniel Levy. But I felt like that was the best spot to do so. I just wanted to watch that. I know it was a slightly older clip that was from 11 days ago, before many of the things that we've seen happen in Rafah happen. But we've also seen the U.S. response. I just thought it'd be good to kind of look at it in this sort of chronological way. And just even by, I think partly because Daniel Levy is just so eloquent and what's the word? Like demonstrative. That's not the right word. But just so he's just so good with his words, and so and just well sourced with his information, that he really does sort of illuminate what we're talking about in very clear terms, right? And we've been talking about this to one degree or another over and over again for who knows how long with Rafah, and now in the last 11 days we've seen what's been happening. More and more strikes, more troops. We saw tanks go in on the first day. That was really kind of the first wave of all of this in Rafah specifically. And now we have more stuff to talk about as it's gotten increasingly worse there. Now Israel once again told people to leave in, I don't even know what time. They've told people to leave areas so many times in this goddamn genocide that I don't even know where to start trying to count. But I guess we are aware of the fact that they tried to get people out of Rafah, and at least 700,000 people had left, but at least I think over 500,000 people were still there, regardless of the fact that they're all living in tent camps and everything else. They have now stepped up their attacks. We're going to talk about that in a second. First, though, I wanted to look at this. This is from Al Jazeera as well, from 18 hours ago, where the Israeli Knesset has voted to approve a bill that would designate UNRWA as a terrorist organization. Now, I just want everybody to think about the implications of this here for a second. So we're going to watch the video, but to just think about that. If, considering the way that Israel has been conducting itself, if they were to, it's not even word to, they have approved a bill that is going to designate UNRWA a terrorist organization. So the fact is, we were just talking about it a couple of days ago, how some different states, I think Spain was one of them, Italy too maybe, who have started funding UNRWA again after having taken funding back after the accusations that were made by Israel. This is now going to put all of this into question as to whether or not UNRWA can even return to the area. If they're designated as terrorists, what does that mean? That means that Israel could very well just blast them out of the sky, out of wherever they are, and say those were terrorists. And Well, they have no evidence for it, first off. But anyways, let's just quickly look at this story. I'm gonna shut up.
Well, Israel's parliament has voted to approve a bill that would designate the UN's Agency for Palestinian Refugees as a terrorist organization. The bill also calls for a complete severing of ties from UNRWA. Israel previously said UNRWA employees took part in the October 7th attacks, but an independent review concluded there's no evidence to back that claim. The bill still needs to clear several more steps before being implemented. Chris Gunnis is a former UNRWA.
I guess I did not hear them right the first time I listened to this. Okay, so it's been approved on one level, but still needs votes, apparently, to be finalized. That is actually
spokesman, and he joins us now live from London. Sir, a good day. Want to get your reaction, first and foremost, to the Israeli Knesset approving this draft bill on declaring UNRWA a terrorist organization.
Well, there is absolutely no evidence, as provided by the independent Kelowna report, which investigated these allegations. It was very clear that Israel has produced absolutely no evidence for these allegations. So the Israeli parliamentary Knesset moves are based on the mother of all lies, as far as I'm concerned.
Can we designate BB as, you mean us? At the Galactic UN, maybe, if somebody were to introduce a bill. I guess we could do that. I don't know about our governments.
There is no evidence against UNRWA, and let me be clear, it is the UN.
I mean, in theory, we can. We've done it plenty of times to all sorts of different people for cornucopia of reasons. So there's nothing holding us back from it, aside from, what do you call it? Political will.
General Assembly, the community of civilized nations that gives UNRWA its mandate, and only the UN General Assembly can change that mandate. So it is not a question of one UN member state that's gone rogue, that decides that it's going to end the mandate of UNRWA. That's not how it works. So I'm afraid to say that UNRWA's life-saving work, given what we saw yesterday, must and will continue. And that is a determination which ultimately rests with the General Assembly of the United Nations, where there are nearly 200 member states.
And I want to talk to you about those overnight horrific scenes that we simply, cannot be unseen. The attack on the makeshift tent camp housing internally displaced persons that was recently established, I understand, near an UNRWA warehouse because it was designated as a safe area. I mean, at this stage, does the responsibility to protect, the responsibility to prevent atrocities even apply anymore to Gaza?
Well, let's talk about the responsibilities of the 153 state parties to the Genocide Convention. Let's talk about the responsibilities of the 124 signatories to the Rome Statute, which sets out the rules of war according to the International Criminal Court. Now, the ICJ just a few days ago made it very clear through its provisional instructions that Israel has to call off its Rafah offensive. Just 3 days later, what do we have? We have this outrageous attack. It was clearly disproportionate, it was clearly indiscriminate, and it took place in an area designated as a safe zone by the Israeli army. I hope, and I'm sure, that the United Nations agencies and other international workers working with Palestinian partners are gathering evidence, and I would urge that evidence to be sent immediately to The Hague, to the International Court of Justice, which has made it clear that people need to be protected from these genocidal attacks. And I would...
Absolutely. Absolutely. Okay. I just thought that was a good way to kind of break this up just a little bit, and to also kind of keep our minds on the political happenings surrounding all of this, because the fact is labeling UNRWA as a terrorist organization is detrimental to making sure that Gazans get aid right now. Okay, let's move on now to what we were talking about, which is the attack on Rafah that recently, according to different numbers, killed at least just dozens of people, at least 50 people. It seems like And the pictures are fucking horrifying. If you haven't seen them already yourselves. I mean, it seems like every day we have different degrees of horrifying pictures to look at. Let's start with this. This is, we're gonna do this in pretty much, what's it called? Chronological order. This is from 17 hours ago. From Al Jazeera. Palestinians are searching through the remains. Rafah.
Emergency crews in Gaza's southern city of Rafah have worked through the night to recover the remains of Palestinians killed in an Israeli strike. At least 35 people were killed in the attack, which targeted a tent camp near a UN building. Many of the dead and injured, women and children. The Palestinian Red Crescent says people were burned alive in their tents. The injured are being treated in overwhelmed and under-equipped hospitals. Al Jazeera's Hind al-Khudri visited the attack site in Rafah and sent us this update.
We're currently in Rafah, in the area, in the makeshift tent that has been targeted by the Israeli airstrikes, with at least 8 airstrikes. Let me walk through you guys and show you the aftermath. This area had at least 20 tents, and here we're seeing the belongings of a family that was living here. At least 35 Palestinians.
For fuck's sake. This is just ridiculous. Alright, we got a bunch more videos to keep looking through. It's good to see she's still alive. Honestly, there's a few faces that I recognize out of the Palestinian journalists, and whenever I see new videos of them, I'm like, yay. There's a little internal moment of happiness, if you will. But it's really not happy at all, right? I mean, it's a fucking horrible scene. It's weird how the mind wants to pick out good things sometimes. But it's just fucked. And like, the fact is, attacking a tent encampment, this is the kind of stuff that the West has constantly just forever has been like condemning over and over again, right? They have no problem when it happens in Africa, or it happens in Asia, or it happens in South America. They have no problem like just pointing it out and saying, oh, international law, please. This is bad. This is an ethnic cleansing, whatever word you want to find for it. and yet, here we. I mean, think about it. Has anybody ever seen the movie with Nicolas Cage? What's the name of that movie? Not War Dogs. That's the other one with Jonah Hill. God of War, right? And you know, and there's a tent encampment right there. Not Face Off. That's no, no, not Face Off. God of War, and they're like outside of a tent encampment, which I think is supposed to be in the Congo somewhere. I can't remember what country it's supposed to be in. But, you know, they hand off all the weapons. I mean, they don't. I mean, first off, I can't remember who gets killed. Who plays his brother? Anyway, I'm going to stop trying to recap an entire movie on stream. This is wild. What am I doing? Point is, it's obvious. It's very clear in the movie just how wrong what they're doing is, right? And yet somehow we are incapable of making the same sort of judgments in this situation, and it makes no sense.
I feel like I'm taking crazy pills.
Okay, moving on to more of these. We've got, this is from 11 hours ago. According to CBC News, at this point, at least 45 were killed, and Israel being widely condemned for this action. No kidding.
I don't want reality.
Israel is promising to investigate its military over an airstrike in Rafah overnight that reportedly killed 45 Palestinians who were sheltering in the area. Here's a government spokesman speaking to the BBC.
What happened last night is we went after 2 high-value Hamas targets, and it appears from initial reports that somehow a fire broke out, and that sadly took the lives of others. Now, I say it appears too because it is under investigation, and the IDF investigates every accident of this.
This shit is wild. You hear this guy? Israel's going to investigate themselves. Good job. Good job, Israel. Oh, you probably deserve one of these, right? Wow, great job. We're investigating ourselves. We're gonna figure out why we just committed a bold-faced massacre on a group of people in tents.
Nature to see what actually happened.
How did it
Take
happen?
a look at
Oh
what
my
the
God, we have
encampment has been reduced to.
we have like the most technology per person in like the world, at least militarily, and somehow we couldn't figure out that it was a tent encampment. This was an accident somehow. Whoopsies. Whoopsies, a massacre happened. How did we do that? Jesus Christ, makes me sick to my stomach. These people are so horrifying.
Piles of smoldering ruins. The Gaza Health Ministry said more than 20 of those killed were women and seniors. Those same officials also say almost 250 people have been wounded. The airstrike has sparked global outrage and happened less than 3 days after the United Nations World Court ordered Israel to abandon its offensive in Rafah. Journalist Sarah Coates.
Yeah. So like we were talking about, just the beginning of this discussion around Israel. From that video from almost 2 weeks ago, regardless, doesn't matter. Israel has ignored what's been said by the ICC, the ICJ, what the United States has said, the fact that multiple countries in that time have recognized Palestine as a sovereign, independent state, all these sorts of things flying in their face, and they continue and amp up what they're fucking doing here. And you have spokespeople coming out for Israel saying, oh, whoops, we're going to investigate ourselves for that thing that we said we were going to do, that we're doing right now. We're going to figure out why we just did that. What? Okay. Let's move on to this one, where Netanyahu himself says that the Rafah attack was a quote-unquote tragic mistake.
Aren't I a good guy?
The Israeli airstrikes hit a small area of prefabricated huts surrounded by desert just after evening prayers last night. A Hamas official confirmed that 2 senior commanders targeted by Israel were killed.
This guy's been watching too much Piers Morgan. Hamas? Come on, man. Come on, man.
But there's no doubt that Palestinian civilians were also among the dead and injured. Israel claims it used precise munitions and that its intelligence assessment prior to this.
If it was precise, then that means the target must have been the tents, right?
Strike was that what it called uninvolved civilians would not be hurt. But dozens were taken to field hospitals, including these children.
Jesus Christ.
Prompting expressions of outrage from some European leaders. Just days after the UN's top court ordered Israel to stop the violence.
What kind of conscience and religion does this? What kind of humanity? Where is the world? Where is the Islamic nation?
During the night, we received a total of 28 people who were dead on arrival and 180 wounded who were then stabilized and referred to the very few remaining medical structures within the area.
Daylight brought children searching among the charred ruins for anything of any value, because these people have almost nothing. The UN says over 800,000 Palestinians have fled the fighting in the last 3 weeks alone. The Israelis say this was not a designated area to where civilians could evacuate.
This is just so fucked. By the way, who else who has shown up that I haven't said hello to? Because I feel like I haven't been reading chat as much because I've been horrified by what I'm seeing in front of me right now. Who showed up? I think I see Nadia now. Ooh, Choky. Good to see all of you people. I feel like I definitely missed some people in there, but chat is long and I can't go through all of it.
It was certainly close to one, and having been displaced so many times, many dared believe they were at last safe.
We were displaced to the city of Rafah because they said it was safe. We were in our tents, ready to sleep, and I was trying to take care of my...
Are you saying hi to me, AC? First off, I already said hi to you once, but I'll say hello again. Just to do the deed twice on this one. Call it hello squared.
When we heard a big explosion and fire broke out, and people started screaming.
Yesterday, I pulled out the remains of 5 children and about 3 women, all in pieces, and none of them could be identified.
The scale of what happened last night has forced Israel's Prime Minister into calling this a tragic mistake.
In Rafah, we already evacuated about 1 million non-combatant residents.
What an
And despite our utmost efforts not to harm
You
non-combatants...
evacuated them? What do you mean? You just told them to leave. That doesn't count as evacuating people. Evacuating people would be, I don't know, showing up with buses and a place for them to go. You just said leave and maybe go north. That is twisted. This guy's fucked.
Something, unfortunately, went tragically wrong. We're investigating
Oh
the
my
incident and
God.
will reach conclusions.
What are you
because this is
talking
our
about?
policy.
What has he been What is he even talking about? He's been saying that attacking Rafah has been the end game of all of this. That's where the last bastion of Hamas is located, is in Rafah. They told people to leave, and they started bombing it. Started invading it with tanks, and I don't understand how he can try and claim this is a mistake. I'm just at a loss.
I feel like I'm taking crazy pills.
If you were a Palestinian, would you get on it? I'm just saying, theoretically, or technically, right? If you want to use that word, evacuate, you don't just say, hey, leave. That's not an evacuation, okay? It's a declaration. That's a... what do you call it? What's the word when you tell people to leave based upon their ethnicity? Ethnic cleansing. That's what it is. That's what it is. Now it's come to me. Okay. Okay. What is next? We got more of this. This is from CBC News. Israel's airstrike on Rafah should be a wake-up call to the world. I found this title to be fascinating coming out of CBC. I think we all know just how bad CBC has been with their coverage, with their titles, with everything about their Israeli and Palestinian related journalism, if you can call it that most days. But this title was shocking to me. I was like, wait, CBS? I mean, not CBS. CBC wants us to wake up to the to the Israeli. Okay, CBC. Well, I feel like we're already awake. At least the people here. It seems like you guys have kind of been sleeping.
More, we're joined now by James Elder.
We have 30 likes. Oh God, hold on.
Turning now to
Wait for it. First real news you've watched in 6 weeks. You weren't doing well. I am sorry to hear that. I mean, I'm glad to hear that you're here and this is the first news you've watched. I'm also sorry to hear that things haven't been going well. And I do hope that somehow this is a turning point and things will be better now. It's a 6. We already have John Wick 3. Who's 3? I think. Let's see. Who's 3? I'm always forgetting now. Captain Planet? 1, 2, 3. Yeah, it's Captain Planet. Hold on. There we go. Alright, let's listen to CBC. Try to tell us that we need to wake up to what's happening in Rafah. Okay. Here we go.
where Israel says it will investigate its military over an overnight airstrike. Survivors said they were preparing to sleep when the strike hit. Gaza's Hamas-run health ministry reports that at least 45 people were killed, mostly women and children. Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu says the operation was targeting 2 Hamas leaders, but it went tragically wrong. The tent camp was in an area northwest of Rafah. Thousands of people went to shelter there after Israel began its operations in Rafah earlier this month. But Israel says the strike wasn't in an official designated humanitarian zone. I'd like to warn our viewers that the footage we're about to show you is disturbing.
This is wild. The shift, and honestly, I'm going to read some of these titles out loud for everybody. But Israel widely condemned for airstrike. Netanyahu says Rafah attack. Oh, the Channel 4 is still letting Netanyahu make things. But Gaza remains hell on earth for children and their families. These are coming out of Western media outlets. France 24, Channel 4, CBC. It's just funny. Suddenly, they see what's happening. Where? I guess the red line existed for some people, just not the United States. Even though I think, weren't we the ones that said that that was the red line? I guess I understand everyone's confusion.
This is the aftermath of the airstrike. You can see fire burning in the rubble, pages of the Quran among the ashes, a child crying next to a dead body, a burnt kid's shoe, and children being treated afterwards, all in this video that we've put together for you. The airstrike has sparked global outrage and happened less than 3 days after the UN World Court ordered Israel to abandon its offensive in Rafah.
It's difficult to find the words to describe the horror of what's going on in Rafah. Women and children were burned alive in tents.
Even in times of wars, there are rules. And the images coming out of Rafah are horrific, heartbreaking. Our position has been clear on Rafah, and we've been saying it now for weeks. Palestinian civilians do not have any safe space to go. The killing of innocent civilians is completely unacceptable, and the decisions of the International Court of Justice are binding.
Sam Rose is the director.
This stuff really makes me think, like going through all this stuff all the time, really makes me think about what it is that gets people's attention. And somehow, at least as it comes to like many of our our leaders, the starvation of children, of women, of men in Palestine, in particular, in this case, it's not pressing enough. They're willing to say a few things about how aid needs to go faster, but this whole, but seeing people in tents getting burned alive is worse. And I mean, I feel like they result in the same thing, right? You get what I'm saying? And I'm because I partly don't want to, quantify what kind of death is worse, right? If you die from starvation or you die from being burned and bombed, right? You still died. You're still a civilian, an innocent person, just trying to live their lives, dying as a result of the policies of a nation state. And it's just fascinating to me that certain things, like for instance, like the WCK, like when the WCK convoy got hit, oh my God, all of Western media was sounding the alarm and shouting about it for like a good week, right? Then they stopped and started going back to saying that, Israel needs to defend itself. But it's just, whatever. I'm monologuing. Now I'm going to shut up.
Planning for UNRWA, and he joins me now from Rafah. Sam Rose, it's good to speak with you again.
Thanks, David. Happy to be on.
I know the information on this is changing rather quickly, but I just wonder, what is the latest information you have on the events that happened over the last 24 hours?
Absolutely. I mean, what we understand is that there were a series of strikes by Israel at about 9:30 last night on this tented camp. I heard them from where I am a couple of kilometers away, but it was only in the morning that we found out what had happened. Now, this is a tented camp in the vicinity of a large UNRWA installation. And what we understand is that the airstrikes have led to, I think we now estimate, or the Ministry of Health now estimates, 45 people have been killed and many more injured, predominantly women and children. And what we're hearing from people on the ground is that people died of the fire. And the fire, it's very windy right now in Gaza across the Middle East, but people also were died from shrapnel wounds and from munition injuries. Certainly the people reports being taken to hospitals were suffering from burns, but also from very bad shrapnel wounds. So it seems to have been a mixture of the two that led to such a high number of deaths. But of course, deaths of
Shrapnel is the worst, I would point out. I'm not going to quantify once again, but just to remind you of what exactly shrapnel is it's assorted sized fragments of bombs flying at hundreds of miles an hour outwards from explosion sites, causing incredibly difficult to treat medical injuries, depending on the size and shape, can result in absolutely horrific wounds and, of course, death. But the people left alive. Anyways, I'm going to stop describing horrific things.
Magnitude are inevitable when there are strikes on an overcrowded, cramped, tented camp, which is essentially what happened.
What is your understanding, Sam Rose, on whether or not this was in a humanitarian safe zone? We saw some reports saying it was, and then some further reports saying it wasn't necessarily inside the humanitarian areas where Israel was telling people to go. What is your best understanding of the status of this area where this strike happened?
Listen to CBC, really trying to find that sweet spot on Israeli propaganda. Good God. Was it close to the zone? Did they tell people to leave? Because if so, maybe they were Hamas. Maybe they deserved it. Maybe.
I feel like I'm taking crazy pills.
Because what the fuck are you doing, dude? You're a journalist. You're supposed to be a journalist. Supposedly. I see you on CBC constantly, buddy. Jeff Bezos light. I don't know this guy's name. Where are we? I might skip a couple. Because I feel like we've done enough on this one strike. It's just wild. Just wild. This is where we're at. I don't know how many months we've been saying now. It feels like 3 at least. That Rafah shouldn't be on the table. It feels like that's how long that Israel's been talking about it, and now they're finally doing it. And it's just wild that they've been saying, hey, it's a mistake. And yet for 3 months they've been saying exactly what... this is the result of that. And I don't remember exactly... Oh, it was in this one. Okay, let's go straight to this one, actually. This is from 6 hours ago. This is... God, okay. This is from Al Jazeera English. According to this family, they don't know where to go, quote unquote. And that they've been displaced now for 8 times in a row since October 7th. 8 times.
More now on yesterday.
Now we're skipping ahead. Everybody wanted to do a story on this, but no. This displacement is our 8th one. Where are we to go? Help me understand. Where are we to go? And we have children. Hold on. I only have children with me. I have no one to stand with me and help me. They're all children, as you can see. Jesus Christ. Here's one, there's another. America gives us aid in hummus and beans, and the others supported with weaponry and explosives. The overnight strike came without warning. Setting fire to tents with Palestinian families asleep inside. Jesus Christ, it's a baby. Oh God. We were here in tents and suddenly we found rockets falling on us in the same place. We didn't know where to go. We were displaced from Beit al-Lahia when they told us to leave. We left, and we listened to them and their leaflets. And today, none of what was adhered to, and as you can see, complete humiliation. And a massacre. This is a fucking... It's just a... Oh, God. It's a human tragedy. This whole thing just happening in slow motion right in front of us. Day in, day out. Somehow. Most of our governments are still supporting it. At least I think most of the governments in chat that are being represented by chatters, if you will. Sorry, chats, you're not representatives of your governments. I don't blame you for this. What am I doing next? Okay, let's just have a couple of discussions now about this. First, this is from Al Jazeera. They had on Gideon Levy to discuss the responsibility of Israelis in the genocide of Palestinians.
We'll get more on our top story, and that's the announcement by the governments of Ireland, Norway, and Spain that they will recognize an independent Palestinian state beginning on the 28th of this month. So let's take a closer look at the road to Palestinian statehood. In 1988, the Palestine National Council declared its independence at a meeting in Algeria. That nation was the first to officially recognize an independent Palestinian state. Weeks later, dozens of countries, including much of the Arab world, most of Africa, Asia, and several Eastern European nations followed suit. The next wave...
We represent Biden. Oh, God. Don't tell me that.
Of recognitions came in late 2010 and early 2011 when a host of South American states, including Argentina, Brazil, and Chile, recognized Palestine. Here with us in the studio is Gideon Levy, who's a columnist with the Haaretz newspaper. Welcome to Al Jazeera. This is not a really good week for Israel, is it? I mean, this announcement coming on the back of that announcement by the ICC seeking arrest warrants for the Prime Minister as well as his defense minister. And we've seen the furious reaction coming out of Israeli officials. What impact do you think it's going to have on Israel?
First of all, it's not a very good year for Israel, and maybe it is good, because maybe this bad year will teach Israel a lesson. I mean, I really hope that Israelis will start to look upon themselves and not to blame the whole world for what's going on. The notion right now in Israel is, as usual, that the whole world is against us, the whole world is anti-Semite, and let's get together, we the victims of the world. I don't know how long it will last, because there must be cracks. Any Israeli should start to ask himself, where is my responsibility? How come that all this is happening? Is it really only the world's blame? Or maybe there were crimes of war in Gaza? Maybe our leaders should be brought to justice? It will be a long process, a very painful one, but maybe it will start.
But are these conversations being had in Israel?
How did Jessica Fletcher get in there? Well, you know, might as well just leave her there.
You're someone there who's, who keeps an eye out on the situation.
Not yet, and not at all. Maybe one day, not yet. The media, the Israeli media is contributing a lot for this denial. It's a fatal denial in my view, because Israeli society is living in denial, total denial, and the Israeli media, which is, in my view, the biggest collaborator with the occupation, with the apartheid, by hiding it, by not telling the full truth, especially in this war, is the main reason why the discourse in Israel is still a blame game against the world.
Now, this video was from a few days ago, and before Israel's increased strikes on Rafah. I'm not sure if... Well, he probably would have some of the same analysis, but I'm sure you'd have some slight amendments to what he's saying. However, I think he's right in his estimation here. The fact is, with every Israeli citizen being in the IOF, and every, and many of them still supporting this, military operation. It's just, you do have to ask yourself, I think, if you're at all, what's the word? Self-reflective, or I know that's not quite the word. That's pretty much what I'm saying. And I think he's right. Let's see here. Let's go on to this. Oh my god, what? Well, don't worry, chat. This might be our last video of the night, but we do have a Galactic UN meeting tonight as well. Didn't even put in the title. I should put it in the title. My god. Nobody will know. How will people know? I'll fix it in a second. Let's watch this next video. By the way, this is for you. Great job getting to the last video. Don't cry. Don't cry, Soul Life. We'll have a Galactic UN meeting. Who knows how long that's going to take. Okay, next. This is from Democracy Now! 13 hours ago, where they had on Pulitzer winner Nathan Thrall on Gaza, Israel's system of domination, and U.S. complicity. Amy Goodman.
Seemingly ordinary event to take place in this particular place under this.
Why do you do this to me?
Thrall. He just won the Pulitzer Prize for his most recent book, A Day in the Life of Abed Salama, Anatomy of a Jerusalem Tragedy, which tells the story of Israel's occupation of the West Bank through one family's tragedy. The book was published October 3rd last year, just 4 days before Israel launched its devastating assault on Gaza following the Hamas attack on October 7th. Today, we re-air 2 interviews with Nathan Thrall. One just after he won the Pulitzer Prize this month, and another interview recorded just after the book was published in October, when he joined us with Abed Salama, the central figure of his book. We begin with the interview Democracy Now!'s Nermeen Sheikh and I did with Nathan on May 9th, when he joined us from Berlin, Germany. I began by asking him about the day's top story, President Biden's announcement that the U.S. would halt the shipment of 2,000-pound bombs to Israel.
You know, it's too little too late. It is a step in the right direction, but the administration has said that it has not made a final determination even about these paused weapons. Biden said something very important. It's wrong. He also said something important months ago, which is that Israel is bombing indiscriminately. And it's doing that indiscriminate bombing with U.S. weapons. So it is very simple for Biden to end this and to have ended this a long time ago. And it's not by threatening to pause a small portion of the weapons that are coming in. Very early in this war, Israel could not continue to conduct it without resupply from the United States. The United States is fully complicit. I am a U.S. taxpayer, and I am paying to kill Palestinian civilians.
So, Nathan, if you've just mentioned, ending the war, and there was a possibility, a ceasefire proposal earlier this week was accepted by Hamas in a move that was that surprised many, including Israel. The ceasefire, which was negotiated, put together by Egypt and Qatar, and just days earlier, before Hamas accepted the ceasefire on April 29th, Antony Blinken, Secretary of State, had said the proposal was, quote, quite extraordinarily generous on the part of Israel, and that Hamas was the only obstacle to a ceasefire. And Israel has now said that the proposal falls far short of its demands, but it's continuing its negotiations in Cairo. So if you could tell us what you think the main points of contention are, and how much that proposal changed from the one that Israel had initially approved, and this one that Hamas has agreed to.
So the fundamental obstacle in all of these ceasefire negotiations has been one central issue, and that is that Hamas has demanded that the hostage exchange be accompanied by an end to the war, and Israel has refused. It says it wants to get the hostages back and to do a prisoner exchange with Hamas, and then to continue pummeling Gaza. Hamas and any other party in its place would be insane to accept such a deal. It is the only leverage they have, and they cannot afford to agree to a ceasefire, a so-called ceasefire, that has them relinquish the only asset that they have that Israel wants without a commitment that this is an end to the war. And so the fundamental issue is that Hamas says that the proposal that was given to it does entail an end to the war, a full, sustainable calm that's guaranteed by the United States and other mediators, and Israel says it rejects that. And we have seen the...
Okay, hold on. We're not going to watch this whole thing. I'm just going to skip to the second half of this interview. As you heard Amy explain it, I explained it bad. But it's 2 different interviews together.
Day in the Life of Abed Salama, Anatomy of a Jerusalem Tragedy. The book looks at the devastating reality for Palestinians living under Israeli occupation through the lens of a Palestinian father. Abed Salama lives in Anata, a segregated Palestinian neighborhood on the outskirts of Jerusalem that's surrounded on 3 sides by the 26-foot-high Israeli separation wall. Many refer to it as the apartheid wall. In February of 2012, tragedy struck Abed's family. His 5-year-old son, Milad, died in a fiery bus crash during a school field trip to a theme park. Abed's quest to find out what happened to his son was immediately hindered because he was a Palestinian living on the wrong side of the separation wall. He held the wrong ID to pass Israeli military checkpoints and didn't have the right papers to enter the city of Jerusalem. Nathan Thrall, who lives in Jerusalem, wrote about this tragedy in a remarkable 2021 essay for the New York Review of Books. Juan Gonzalez and I spoke to Abed Salama and Nathan Thrall and aired the interview on October 5th. That was 2 days before Hamas's October 7th attack on southern Israel and the start of Israel's assault on Gaza. Nathan began by discussing why he wrote about Abed Salama and the tragedy of his family.
You know, this event is every parent's worst nightmare and an awful, awful tragedy under any circumstances. But it was made so much worse by the unique circumstances in which it took place, by the fact that the victims were Palestinian, that it took place on a road that is controlled by Israel, patrolled by Israeli police, but on the other side of a separation wall, a 26-foot-high concrete wall that separates and segregates tens of thousands of Palestinians from Jerusalem, born and raised in Jerusalem, residents of the same city I live in, but who are cut off from the city that they were born and raised in, specifically because of their ethnic identity. And these people live in the same city as me, but they live an entirely different existence. And the parents of the kids on this bus live in a walled ghetto, encircled on 3 sides by this separation wall, and a 4th side by a different wall that runs in the middle of a segregated road, famously called the Apartheid Road. And inside that walled ghetto, which sits just underneath the manicured grounds of Israel's most prestigious university. You can look down on it from Hebrew University down onto this ghetto with trash being burned in the street because the municipal services are non-existent there, with no sidewalks, roads in total disrepair. When I drive into this area to visit Abed and other families there, I have to pull off to the side and just to let a bus pass on the main artery for tens of thousands of people. I'm rolling down my window and pulling in my side mirror to let a regular bus pass me. And this is just the everyday reality of all of these people.
God. I got completely just sucked in by this discussion. It's just, you know, the individual stories are often sort of overlooked in all of this, and we look at the collective suffering, and I think that it's good for us to look at these situations on a case-by-case basis as well. It's just difficult, especially considering how much in the way of atrocities there have been that have been happening here. And what's happening? What's happening? Okay. Oh, you know what? I think. What time is it? How far in already? Yeah. No, seems like a good time, especially because we're going to do a Galactic UN meeting. I think, has Nightbot forsaken me? Damn you. Damn you, Nightbot. Okay, yes, we are done with the regular portion of the stream. I just realized I was on top chat for the entire stream. Well, looks like we got through another one, chat. Not sure what exactly it is that we've accomplished, but I do feel like I at least learned something today. Till I see you next time. You stay classy, Galactic Stream Nation. Can't forget these songs. These are your galactic patrons. Gabby, Goth Dogs, Aaron W, Mitty, PB, Robot Cat, Morbius Dragon, The Anti-Corporatist, Bowen Noeb, Nadia, Vincent Morales, and Donald James X. All these people right here have helped produce the show that you're watching right now with your eyes and hearing with your ears, most likely. You can do the same for a few American dollars a month. Okay, I'm slightly behind my usual timing of this.